Imagine waking up one morning and the sun feels wrong. Not brighter, not warmer, just weaker. In the year 536 AD, people all across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia described the same terrifying sight. A sun that looked like the moon, a sky that never cleared, days without warmth and months without light. This wasn't a myth. It wasn't a legend. It was written down by historians who lived through it. And today, scientists believe it may have been the worst year to be alive in all of human history. What happened in 536 AD? And could it happen again? The Roman historian Procopius, living in Constantinople, wrote about it directly. He said, "For the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon, during this whole year." And it wasn't just him. Half a world away in China, imperial records described yellow dust falling from the sky like snow. They noted snow in the middle of summer, and that the frost was so severe that crops died before they could even be harvested. In Ireland, Gaelic monks recorded a simple but devastating entry in their chronicles. A failure of bread. This darkness, this cold, this strange dusty fog wasn't a local event. It was global. For the people living through it, there was no explanation, no science, no warnings, no understanding, only fear. They looked to the sky and saw a sign of divine anger. Many believed God had abandoned humanity, that the apocalypse had begun, or that the world was being punished for some unknown sin. And the worst part, the darkness didn't just last for a few days or weeks. It lingered for over 18 months, plunging the world into a prolonged twilight. As the sunlight vanished, temperatures across the globe collapsed. Modern climate data, reconstructed from tree rings and ice cores, shows a staggering global drop of up to 2.5 degrees Celsius. Now, that might not sound like a huge number to us today, but for ancient agriculture, which relied on predictable seasons, it was catastrophic. The summer of 536 AD was one of the coldest in over 2,000 years. Crops failed on a massive scale across Europe. Rice harvests, which fed millions, collapsed in Asia, with no food for them. Livestock starved. Entire communities simply disappeared from the historical record, likely wiped out by famine. Tree ring studies from that time tell a stark story. For multiple years, trees barely grew at all. The rings are so thin they're almost invisible. This wasn't just a patch of bad weather. It was a complete climate shock, and humanity was totally unprepared. For over 1,000 years, the cause of this global catastrophe remained a mystery. Then, in the late 20th century, scientists began drilling deep into the ice sheets of Greenland and Antarctica. Ice is like a time capsule. Every year, new layers of snowfall, trapping particles from the atmosphere, dust, pollen, and chemical traces. As scientists drilled down through centuries of ice, they found it. A massive layer of volcanic ash and sulfur, dated with incredible precision to the spring of 536 AD. Further studies revealed the likely culprit. Not just one, but a series of enormous volcanic eruptions. The leading theory points to a colossal eruption in Iceland, and possibly others in North America or Southeast Asia, happening in quick succession. These weren't ordinary eruptions. They were powerful enough to blast millions of tons of sulfur and ash high into the stratosphere. There, the particles formed a dense aerosol veil that spread across the entire northern hemisphere, reflecting sunlight back into space. The sun didn't disappear, but from the ground it looked like it was shining through a thick, dirty lens. Earth was wrapped in a volcanic shroud, and the lights went out. Now try to imagine what it was like to live through this. There was no electricity, no central heating, no supermarkets, no scientific explanations. Only unrelenting hunger, cold, and darkness. Parents watched their children starve. Farmers planted seeds in the cold, dusty soil, knowing they would probably never sprout. Entire belief systems collapsed. When your gods and your kings can't bring back the sun, what do you believe in? Some historians argue that this era of desperation accelerated religious extremism and social unrest. When survival is the only thing that matters, human behavior changes. People turn to prophecy, to fear, to violence, or to blind faith. Civilizations don't just fall overnight. They crack slowly under immense pressure, and the year 536 AD applied that pressure everywhere, all at once. It was a stress test for all of humanity, and just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, just as the sky began to clear and the world started to recover, another disaster struck. In the year 541 AD, the Justinian plague erupted, likely originating in Egypt and spreading through trade routes. It was one of the deadliest pandemics in history, killing tens of millions of people, possibly up to half the population of the Eastern Roman Empire. Many historians believe the timing wasn't a coincidence. The populations that were hit by the plague were already severely weakened. They were starving, their immune systems compromised by years of malnutrition and stress from the cold and darkness, cold, famine, and then disease. It was the perfect storm. The ancient world as they knew it never fully recovered. The Dark Ages weren't just a metaphor. For a time, the world was literally dark. So the final question is, could it happen again? Today, scientists know that massive climate-altering volcanic eruptions are not a question of if, but when. They are an inevitable part of our planet's geology. Our modern civilization is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly fragile. We depend on global food supply chains, a stable climate, and delicate technology. A modern version of 536 AD wouldn't just cause famine. It would disrupt power grids, shut down transportation, and collapse global economies. Billions of lives would be at risk. We have the science to understand what's happening, but the challenge of surviving it would be immense. So the next time you see the sun rise, warm and bright, take a moment to remember. Once in history, it didn't, and the world nearly collapsed because of it. Thanks for watching.